Back at it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Infinite Repeat. I'm your host, Nate, joined here with my sister, Alicia.
Hey, how's it going?
So, we are going to dive back into The Matrix one more time. I couldn't stop thinking about this movie. I think I texted you at work saying those exact words. I couldn't stop thinking about this movie.
And I wish you would stop thinking about this movie because I was trying to get it out of my head.
And, yeah, I needed to talk about this movie again. This time a spoiler discussion because I didn't really get into it at the last video. So first off, before we get into the movie, I wanted to ask you, this movie, so you saw this movie in theaters, I did not.
Unfortunately.
And how was the energy? Like, you saw day one.
Yeah.
And like, were there a lot of people?
No, it was not.
So like, how was it like? The people you were with, like, how was the energy? Was it like, were they laughing? Were they seem into it? Not really.
No, nothing. It was just basically dead silence.
Okay. So like, my question is like, I don't know anyone besides you that's seen this movie in theaters.
I feel so bad when you say that.
At least like the people I talk to, like.
Okay.
But also people I've listened to on YouTube, and I'm wondering, I don't want to get too much into this, but the whole day one release with HBO Max, we're going into the new year. Do you think they're going to keep that up? Because that really hurt this movie.
Well, we talked about this before. I don't think they should be putting stuff on day one anyways, the same day they're screaming. Because it seems like none of their movies ever do good. They complain that they didn't make no money. It's like, yeah, you fucking idiots, because you didn't put it in the movie theaters first. You put it on your streaming service where
Day one, the same time.
Yeah, you're not getting no extra money, especially with HBO Max, because once you have it, you have the movie.
That's the weird thing about these streaming services now. It's kind of hard to judge. Like we can look at the box office, but it's hard to judge. Like, is this day one thing even helping at all?
I don't think it is.
I mean, I imagine it has to be helping, like, the streaming services, but it can't be helping the directors or anything like that.
Yeah, because you can have 5 people watch this movie on streaming service and none of them have paid for it. In the theaters, that'd be like, what, $30-something all together?
Because I was going to see it with you in theaters, and I was like, I'll just watch it at home. I don't really need to see it. And like, obviously, I can't do that with Disney Plus, like Spider-Man. Everyone's going to go see Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
If that was, I mean, I don't know if we don't have it didn't happen. So if it was on Disney Plus the same day as Spider-Man, who knows if that was making $1 billion or not? It didn't.
But they also make you pay for it again too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, at least they're smart in that way. Like, they're making you pay for it.
I'm really wondering, 2022 is like, I feel like they had to do it with. They felt like they had to do it with the pandemic and whatnot. But I'm really wondering, 2022, are they going to keep up doing the day one release?
Well, before we started doing this, I was skimming through YouTube and I saw someone was about to make a video about like how they're going to put Batman on just in the movies for like the first 45 days. I didn't watch that video, but maybe they'll just do that for, because I remember hearing something like a while ago. It's like, starting next year, they're going to just put their movies in the theaters first instead of doing in the streaming service the same day release. I'm like, that's the smarter thing to do. You're losing money putting on your streaming service first, because you can, like we said, you can have a bunch of people watch this movie and without getting extra money for it.
Yeah.
You want to make money? You're losing money that way.
Yeah. So, let's get into Matrix Resurrections. Hopefully I don't keep getting them mixed up with because I want to say the other ones. But
I keep giving it different titles. At one point I was thinking Revelations, but I was like,
that's what I wanted. I've been wanting to say Revelations every single time.
I'm like, no,
that's
it's
another
Revolution, so it's not Revelation. But whatever.
But so in my video, I rated this a 1 out of 5, and a friend of mine told me I was a little harsh on it. And I'm stay by that 1 out of 5. What do you rate this movie?
I'll give it a 3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if we went out of 10, I would have gave it a 5.
Were you hyped for this movie? Like when it was announced way back when?
I was interested to see what they'll do. That's because we talked about this before with other reboots. Like, I'm always interested to see what they're gonna do. I'm not saying I'm exactly hyped. I just want to see what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I was interested to see what they
It was
would
one.
do.
It was one of those things where they released the post, like a teaser poster before the official trailer, or whatever, and it was just like it was the red and blue pill, and that was it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. I don't think I was really hyped either way, mostly because there's other Warner Brother properties coming out that I was way more hyped for.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matrix Resurrections. It starts off
The new character bugs.
new character bugs. It starts off recreating the first Matrix movie, and this opening rewatch. Rewatched. We both rewatched this movie again, and rewatched it. I still think this opening is pretty cool. It's nice to see them recreating the beginning of that movie, and I wish that's where they ended.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the opening?
I thought it was. I didn't really care too much for the three replaying it. Basically, I mean, obviously it was the same opening, but it was like different cuts in it, and I'm just like, if you were gonna do it, I kind of wanted to see the same cuts, even though I understand why, because they had to show bugs in that new hacker guy. I can't remember his name for some reason.
Oh, Seek.
Seek, is that how you
Seek,
pronounce it?
something
Okay,
like that.
yeah. Which I do like how they use him in this movie. I do like that. But I kind of do like how they did change it up a little bit. She doesn't get away. She actually kind of does seem like she gets caught. So I do like how they did change that small part.
I feel like that's the best action scene in the movie, unfortunately. Because, like...
Yeah, I mean, she did have that one kick. I was like, damn, that was a pretty good kick she did.
I wish... Watching that action scene, it makes me wish... Like, I think this is a problem in Hollywood, but I wish they just hired more, like, martial artists, honestly, instead of actors. Like, I obviously they're not going to do that nowadays, but, like, they should just hire a bunch of martial artists in this. And, like... one of my big problems with that opening is like she does a Hurricane Rana on Morpheus, and
which I kind of did think was cool.
And she lands right in front of the agents.
Yeah.
And she just cracks a joke right in front of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And I like, there's no tension in that scene. Like,
there's hardly no tension in this whole movie.
Yeah, and they do something where I thought this was kind of interesting where, like, I don't know if this is a reference to the Keymaker in the second one, but, like, they can open portals and doors.
I thought it was a reference. I really
and, like,
did.
that's cool, but at the same time, I think that takes away from the tension of this movie where, like, there's a reason why they had to go to the phones, because that was the only way out. Mm-hmm. And in here...
They eliminated that.
Yeah, there's no, like, tension, really. I never thought any character was going to really die in this movie.
No, me either.
And that was my big problem with after this opening is... I mean, it's interesting. Like, I do like the upgrade of the technology in the Matrix. Like, it's not... Like, I mean, the Matrix has evolved, too. Like, they kept them in the 90s. And... Because that's what the computers thought the world was. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird that... I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird that they moved to the modern day because the machines wouldn't know what that was anyway.
Listen, everybody has to have an upgrade. That's what they're doing. They're upgrading. They don't know better, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah, but that opening I thought was interesting because with Morpheus, new Morpheus, who how did you feel about?
I thought he was okay.
Right.
I wasn't really excited too much for him.
I mean,
this is the funny part, like rewatching it, especially like when he did his pause and he said, "I am Morpheus." I felt like that was supposed to be a very dramatic, emotional moment, and I'm just like, "Sorry, my guy, I got nothing for you."
I mean, I liked the what happened before that, where they were in Neo's old apartment, and like he was talking about the loop he was in, and. A little too on the nose again with this movie, but the whole deja vu aspect that is in the Matrix, that is a big theme in the Matrix,
and he was it way too much.
He was stuck in a loop, and that was like he isn't Morpheus, and like that was interesting. Like he's a combination of both Smith
and Morpheus,
and that's interesting, and like and like Neo, we find out later on that Neo ran that program subconsciously, like in like a simulation to get him out of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And I like that.
I do. Yeah, I like that idea.
And like that's a cool idea. And like I like him finding out, and like I thought that was cool, like cinematography of him looking at the mirror of the water and it's making the Matrix cold. And they do that throughout the movie, like, and that's really cool. But other than that, I mean, right after that, again, they see the agents, and then leaves them getting out. Then we cut to Neo, and then they try to play it off like, oh, they get really meta after this, and they play off.
Oh my god, that scene!
What
it
scene
drove me crazy.
What scene are you talking about? Just the whole office setup?
Yeah, it just drove me crazy. Like, I literally looked down in the theater at the floor. I'm like, is this really happening right now? Are we doing this? Like, I don't like this at all.
I wanted them. I think okay, so I think it might be a sin to to rate this movie on what it isn't, but
do you see the face I'm giving you right now?
But what I wanted this movie to be more like was maybe like was Total Recall or Inception. Like, play with my head, because they try to play it off like, did the original trilogy actually happen?
But it doesn't come off that well.
No, I mean, I don't think it comes off that way at all. Like, I heard a review saying like, oh, I thought for a second like, oh, maybe the original didn't happen. I didn't think that for a second at all.
Me either.
Maybe it doesn't help with the trailers.
It doesn't.
But they should have messed with your head a lot. They should have played with my head a lot more in this. Like Total Recall, Inception, the whole time is like, is this a dream? Is this reality? Actually, Morpheus says in the first movie, I wrote this down. Morpheus says to Neo, have you ever had a dream that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to awake from that dream? Mm-hmm. How would you be able to tell the difference from the dream world, and the real world?
Yeah, that's a good line.
And
that's a great line.
And it seemed like they were going for that in the first half, but they don't make you. I never thought for a second, like, Neo thinks that, but they should have made me think as the audience, like,
yeah,
did the Matrix actually happen? And they constantly show we're gonna, like, the annoying thing throughout this whole movie, I think.
Flashbacks.
Yeah. And like, how do you when you watch it in theaters, like, how do you feel about that?
No, I don't like it at all. It's one thing if you just do it a few times. Don't sprinkle it at me every single time, and now you're trying to drown me with it. I don't appreciate that at all.
Well,
I don't like flashbacks that much in movies anyway, so it's just like, you hit me over the head too much with it.
What I thought was weird is, like, I thought, because Neo's whole thing is in that beginning, the machines have put him in a loop as well, and they're making him think, like, they say it later, it's like, they can't just tell him the Matrix didn't, they ran simulations on, like, him not thinking the Matrix existed, so this was the best way to keep him in the Matrix, is to make him think he created the Matrix in this video game. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. the flashbacks. What I was going to say is, like, I thought what they were doing is, like, because every time Neo started to question reality, whether this was real, the Matrix actually happened, because apparently the game that he created, or that he thought was created, was, like, I guess, like a simulation, like a real life VR type experience game or something. And every time he started to question reality, we started to see the flashes. And I thought, because, like, I guess, like, he tried to commit suicide, or at least the Matrix made him think he was going to commit suicide when he was really trying to fly. I thought that was him, like, and they gave him, like, PTSD, and I thought, like, every time he was having flashes, that was him having, like, PTSD moments of, like, is this real? Is this not real? Like, there's that moment where he tries to poke the mirror and he laughs because he doesn't know what's real anymore, and that's all interesting.
That was kind of sad, though.
Yeah, like,
I would say, like, during those moments, like, between the whole office meeting scene and we seeing Neo going through his everyday life, I was like, oh my god, my guy, I feel so bad for you. You're sad right now.
And that's all interesting. Like, I definitely am convinced that Neo's convinced that he's going crazy, but me as the audience, I never thought for once, like, is this? Yeah, I know he's gonna get out, because again, like, it doesn't help. Maybe, like, I may always maybe think maybe they should have started with him in the office and not show that opening, and it's kind of,
because it makes us know, it's like, this is kind of obviously
It's
not
weird.
the way it went.
It's annoying too because like the action part of my brain is like, yeah, give me that action right away. But going into that and then them talking about Warner Brothers, and there's just too many on the nose things
It
here. Like
is.
this movie's not subtle at
It's
all.
not, and that's the bad thing. It's not. And what I mean, we said this before. Like, I get it when someone owns the rights to something, they allowed to do whatever they want with it. But don't throw it at me and just be like, "Hey, this is what they're doing, guys." Don't like, no, we get it, but don't just keep throwing it at us. Like,
Honestly, I almost feel like maybe maybe Lana shouldn't have came back for this. Maybe someone else should have just made this movie because it really didn't feel like.
Because you didn't. I mean, yeah, it's your baby, but also like you didn't have to come back. They could have brought someone else, and who knows? They might have done something. They probably could have done something different and better, but like you don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, because she didn't want to come back. Maybe it's just like too much. I don't want to say
Pressure.
animosity, pressure, but it's like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell this message the way I want to tell it, and you guys can just F off.
I doing better. I wanted to transition to someone who was definitely trying to do better. Jonathan Groff as Mr. Smith. That should have been Hugo Weaving.
It should have.
And like I know, like apparently there were scheduling problems.
Yeah.
Then don't put this character in here. Have it be a whole new character, because him especially, like Morpheus is a different case. He's a whole different character. He's not Morpheus. He's literally not Morpheus.
And you can see like the different combinations with him trying to be Morpheus and Smith. You can see like the little difference if you kind of look for it. You're not Smith. You're fake Smith. I'm sorry.
But like
You're
a lot of
Smith.
these scenes, I feel like it's funny. Like I'm talking about how bad nostalgia is, and I'm bringing up nostalgia moments like they should have brought back Hugo Weaving. But like if you're gonna bring back Mr. Smith, it doesn't work if it's not Hugo Weaving, because like having them sitting down, I think it's so funny, honestly. And this would have worked so much. Those scenes would have been way more impactful if it was Hugo Weaving doing them. And like we'll talk about more when we get to the fight scenes. Those scenes would have been way better if it was Hugo Weaving in them. And on one hand, I'm like, okay, like I guess he is a different person now, because like he says Neo freed him, and like that makes sense because like in, I forget if it was Reloaded or Revolutions, where like I think it was Reloaded, where they talk about the yin and yang, dark and light, Neo and Mr. Smith. So it kind of makes sense that he is, like we're dealing with all the programs in this. It makes sense that he is a little bit more human in this. At the same time, I don't really, like, honestly, I don't understand why the machines brought him back. Like, why?
He went rogue. Went rogue. He made it, how many copies of himself? He was about to destroy y'all. What are y'all thinking? Y'all are idiots, machines. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be smart. You're acting stupid.
Like, I like, the analyst says, like, he talks about later, we're jumping ahead, but, like, he talks about later, like, they made the simulation, the loop, and they kept Trinity and Neo as far apart as possible. Why bring back Mr. Smith?
And y'all tethered them together.
Why make him a program again? Like, that makes no sense. Like,
you know, this guy might go right back off the rails again. And it's just like, because he kind of does in the movie. So it's stupid. Like, come on. You know you had an issue with him before.
yeah.
Like, did y'all just wipe y'all memories too and just completely forget this is what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Because he almost destroyed y'all too.
One thing I do want to talk about, some things I did like about the Office scene. It's like, Neo subconsciously knows he's in the Matrix. He subconsciously makes the modal, makes Morpheus to try and get himself out. And that's interesting. And like, one thing I didn't notice the first time was when his coworker, I forget his name.
Jude.
Yeah. When he notices him looking at the Matrix, that's when they tell him to make the game again, and they start putting that shit in him, like, hey, this is not real, and then he has to go to therapy again, and Smith mentions the therapist, and like they are keeping, like, that loop that he's trapped in is very interesting. And I wish, like, if you're not gonna make an action movie again, which the action movie sucks,
At least give me a good story.
or really like make it, there's no question, I feel like, in this, the question in the first movie for Neo and us, the audience, is what is
the Matrix?
Exactly, what is the Matrix? And guess what? We get that answer in less than 20 minutes. And in this movie, the question is, how is Neo and Trinity still alive? And we got to wait a whole movie. We got to wait like the first and second half to find that out, and that's not nearly as interesting. And even the second, like all the movies ask the question of choice and the control and the illusion of choice, and this movie delves in that too, but not nearly enough. And then we get Morpheus coming into Neo, and then that action scene in the bathroom, and that scene again, them laying it on thick with the references. What I mean, I guess that's another action scene. Like, how did you feel about that?
I did like that action scene. It wasn't as bad as
it was kind of cool with him doing the double Uzi and shooting, like not looking, shooting. That felt very.
I did like that.
That felt very Matrix. But then it goes into Mr. Smith picking up the gun. I'm like, that scene. That's the scene I'm talking about. Where I was like, if that was Hugo Weaving,
it would be so much better.
That would have
been
more great.
Impactful.
And like him picking up the gun is slow because he's a victim too, and that's interesting because he did rebel against the machines in the end.
Gave me interesting thought in my head.
The Matrix 5 rebels. Confirmed.
Rebel with the machines, yeah.
And like he breaks out at that moment, and then it cuts to Neo in the therapist room, and then again like someone said like.
But no, throughout the whole moment, just Neo just freaking out. He's like, "This is not real. This is
it's so funny.
That's funny to me.
It's so funny.
He's like, no.
Yeah, like
Smith is just trying to shoot at him.
Well, that goes to the choice thing. It's like the illusion of choice is like the machines are force feeding Neo, literally force feeding him blue pills.
Mm-hmm. So many.
And then Morpheus almost forces him the red pill and doesn't give him the choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think about that the first time, and that's interesting because like without that choice, Neo freaks the hell out, and that makes sense. My problem with this scene is like once they get him out of the Matrix, I feel like this entire scene was way too long for no reason, and it is over 40 minutes, almost an hour, to where Neo gets out of the Matrix and meets the rest of this crew, and then we're in the real world. That takes 20 minutes in the first movie. And I'm just like, what was the point of that opening at all?
There's a lot of scenes that they could have cut out. Like, especially when they go back to Io, I'm like...
At the same time, I feel like this movie should have been longer, honestly, saying that. Because, like, I remember seeing someone saying... someone said that maybe this should have been a TV show instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe that would have been better. Like, at least then you could have taken more time and maybe gotten some actors back. And like this should have just been a whole new thing, a whole new cast of characters, not Neo and Trinity because they died in the last movie. But
I always never thought Neo did die because he had the glow at the end. Like I actually went back to look at that little scene at the very end because he was still kind of glowing when the machines were dragging him off. So I always in my head thought he was still alive. And even the Oracle, when Sati asked her, do you think we'll see Neo again? What did she say? She was like, I think we will. So I always assumed that he will come back. Not that we would get another movie, but that he was still alive. Well, and they would see him again. Well,
that's the interesting thing too. Like it is a loop. And I mean, the Oracle in the first movie said like this. I mean, this is literally the seventh Matrix. Like we've been here before.
Yeah.
Deja vu. I wish they didn't hit it on so on the nose with this movie.
Cat
that was so stupid.
I was just like,
I hated that too.
I was like, stupid cat called Deja vu. Come on, really?
That was too much. Like, it would have been nice. Like,
who calls a cat Deja vu? Like, come on, Deja vu.
I mean, I like that's it. I like that transition where in that fight scene in the office where Mr. Smith is about to shoot him, he sees the cat and he's back in the office. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But yeah, it's just the loop aspect. I feel like that's a really interesting concept that I don't feel like they did nearly enough with. But anyway, Bugs and Morpheus do give him the choice of red versus blue, and that transition from the train to the behind the curtains of the movie, again, I like that, and that's really cool. And that should have been the only flashbacking to the original movie, and they do give him the choice. And I like how Morpheus is like pissing Neo off, like, because he is both Smith and...
Yeah, that's why I was just like, I did like that little concept.
Yeah, like...
Until he has both of them in him, and it's just like, I do like that.
Yeah, that's really good. And like, he has a really good line in that scene where he says, nothing comforts. Is that the word? And
Comfort.
comforts anxiety like a little nostalgia. And I really like that line. And we get introduced to the rest of the crew, and then we get to the train sequence. And how'd you feel about that scene?
I actually have no idea. I'm still trying to contemplate what I think about it. I find it interesting that they have
I thought it was way too claustrophobic.
the bot. Yeah, it kind of is.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that opening, we see the agents, and we never see them
we
again.
never see them again.
I don't understand what is the point.
That's what made me also so angry. I'm like, what's the point of the agents? Because they're supposed to be seriously badass. And when you have Neo take them on, it's like, what the fuck? And now it's just like now they're obsolete now?
I feel like the only reason they did the bots is to have an excuse to have a bunch of...
A cool little thing you can do at the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, but that and just having a bunch of people on the screen at once. Because like with the thing with the agents, it's just having 3 agents was always bad news. Like, just one agent was bad news.
Yeah.
And then this is like, all right, we're not going to do that anymore. Like, I don't understand.
And the agents, they were terrifying, though. And it's just like, you got these people, it's like, I don't feel terrified by these people. Like, the agents, they were scary.
There's never a threat in this. Like, like that, they beat the bots are not threatening. Like, they all, until like there's a crap ton of them, but on that train scene, it's like, well, yeah, whatever. Who cares? Like, they all, and it's not, the action scene that, to me, is terrible. Like, none of the new characters.
I mean, the one scene I did like was in, I don't even know who the character, I don't know who the character was, but.
The girl?
No, not Bugs.
No, I mean, the other girl, Lexi.
Oh, that was her name?
Yeah, I only know that.
No, it was a dude. Like, when one of the bots came at him, he, like, literally picked them up and threw them out the window. I was like, that was probably the one thing I actually did enjoy. But then again, I saw that in the trailer, so I was like, I was expecting that scene to come, so. But, yeah.
That scene is just, it's just so weightless. And the thing is, too, like, the original movie was an action scene, but, like, every scene led to another. Like, this, or I guess before that, we kind of skipped over it, but Morpheus and Neo fighting in the dojo. Oh, actually, is that after that?
No, I think that's after.
Okay, yeah.
They get him back on
the show. That's when they get him out, my bad. So when they get him out, and they're trying to make sure he's okay or whatever, they put him back in.
Wake him up, basically.
Yeah, and Morpheus has the whole scene with him, and it's the recreation of the original scene. Man, you could put those scenes side by side.
I didn't need that scene.
It's so unnecessary, and it's like, but you could put those scenes side by side, and it's like one is clearly better than the other.
Yes, and
like,
that would be the first one.
The editing in this movie is like so like choppy. There's so many quick cuts, and there's no impact to any of the waves. There's no long takes. There's the camera's not pulled back out at all. Yep. It's like the action scenes sucked.
They do.
And
it's just sad. It's really sad.
Well, the original movie, there was a reason for every action scene. It wasn't just an action scene. Like, Neo fighting Morpheus in the original was Morpheus trying to explain to him what the Matrix was and how much you can do to him, or do in the Matrix. And, like, getting him, not, like, training him to fight the agents, which was the threat in that first movie, and saying, you can dodge bullets eventually, or you won't have to. And then that leads to them going to see the Oracle, which then Neo learns that
he's not the one.
And but also, like, he can manipulate the Matrix. And then, which leads to them being caught and them having to fight the agents, which they lose. And then there's multiple setup in that movie. And this movie, I don't really feel like there's any. And then we go to the new Zion, Io. Did you like this?
I actually liked Io. I thought it
looked awesome.
It did. It was very pretty.
Definitely a step up from that muddy ass Zion.
Yes, they got that with that goop shit and
they stopped doing those weird sex parties,
raves, and listen, I like the second movie. I can do without the rave. Give me like give me a couple of like a minute. I can do without the rave, but I did because they're showing like, hey, they're working with the machines, and you have them coming in.
That probably should have been this whole movie.
It should have been a whole movie because I'm just like, oh shit, they eat strawberries now.
That one scene where they show, the machines versus the machine war. I'm like, whew,
give me more of that.
That looked like a better movie.
Yeah, give me more of that. I want that movie. And like that's what, because they had so many different concepts in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I should have been having a war between.
They don't go nearly enough
We
into
should have
any of
had a
them.
Paragon and a Paragon. That is right.
Mm-hmm.
Paragon and a Renegade type situation.
What do you mean?
Like obviously you have your good machines and you have your bad machines. Like give me more of that war between these good machines and the bad machines.
Well,
You have people who obviously.
Well, that's the funny thing too. Is like we get introduced to this crew, and I remember I saw a review where someone said, like this new crew is interesting and developed, and I'm like, where? Who? Bugs? Sure, I guess.
I don't care about this crew.
As soon as they introduced the machines on that ship, I was like, give me more of that.
I was like, "Ooh, you got machines with
I was more
like,
interested in that. I was like, give me more of that. Like, can they talk? Like
you got one machine even headbutts. Neo's like, yes,
well,
I like you.
That's the interesting thing is that we find out that Neo's sacrifice did matter. I was like, there was peace between the machines and the human. I mean, we already saw that in the original trilogy. Like there's programs who wanted to be free, who didn't want the Matrix, or they wanted more. They wanted outside the Matrix, and we're seeing that in this movie. But like, man, this everything about this movie just tells me that this movie didn't need to come out 20 years from now. It should have came out 20 years ago, when they like this should have been, if this was a sequel to Revolutions right after that, or maybe 2 years or 3 years after that movie, and we dealt with that machines versus the machines, or maybe in a TV show we dealt with that. Because all I'm thinking is, why did we need Niobe again?
We did.
Who the hell, Niobe? She was a nothing character in the original movies.
I kind of liked her, but yeah, we didn't need her.
She was fine, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I guess get someone else back that remembers the old movies. But I did thought one thing was interesting was Neo asking Niobe about what happened to Morpheus, and
but we don't get no real response though.
Well, we don't really find out why he died. Is the thing like Neo never asks how did he die.
Yeah, I feel like that's your best friend.
Very,
like I'm gonna ask like
very
how?
strange.
What happened to my boy? Who the fuck do I need to kill?
Well, I assume obviously he probably died in another battle.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I'm assuming he did.
But I mean, well, we get we get an interesting set of sequences where they're building, and we get to see Io. We see that they're making real food now, and Bugs questions Niobe's leadership, like, you're more concerned with making food than waking people up.
Okay, yeah, and this is one of I actually put a star by that.
You like that?
No, I feel like this is something else that they should have been focusing on.
That should have been the main topic of the movie.
Yeah, it's like, because here's the thing. What if some of these people don't want to wake up?
Yep.
Like, you might want to be free, but maybe your next door neighbor doesn't want to be free. Like, you can't force people, and I think that's the thing. Like,
they should have talked about that more. Well, like, that's the interesting thing. We have machines now working with humans. There should have been a flip side of that, where some of the humans are working with the machines. Like,
I want to see that.
A little bit of maybe like War of the Planet of the Apes. You remember that movie where the apes, there were some apes working with humans and they were sellouts? We should have saw some of that in this movie. Because, like, you know, we had Cypher in the first movie. He wanted to go back into the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was saying, like, with Inception. It was like, there's that one scene in Inception where Leonardo DiCaprio sees there's some people that are always dreaming, because that's the only way they know how to dream. And there should have been a talk about that with the Matrix, because, like, they make the Matrix seem so much of, like, a bad thing.
They make it seem horrible.
And, like, I get it, because, like, yeah, they're being controlled, but at the same time, like, in the Matrix, that's the only time they had power. At least for the rest of the crew, besides Neo, that's the only time they had power. That's the only time they can manipulate that world. Mm-hmm. They were able to stop bullets or move out of the way of bullets, and like, there should have been
run over type roofs and jump like 20 feet into the air and like to another window. Like, you got some power in this world. Yeah,
and there's an interesting topic, but like, they didn't spend any time with it. And like, I wish, like, it's funny, later Bugs talks about, or Bugs is having an argument with Jada Pinkett Smith about waking people up versus making more food, and like, Niobe says, like, we're not having this discussion. I'm like, no, have this argument.
Yeah.
Because I thought would have been interesting. I thought the reason Jada Pinkett Smith was doing that is because what's the point of waking people up if they're gonna wake up in a shitty ass world with shitty food? And
I'd be like, send me back, please.
yeah, that I thought the reason she was doing this is like we don't want another Cypher situation where we wake people up and they're in this shitty ass world that they don't want to live in.
Because it's also like, you tell me all those people in the original movie, they trilogy, it was like they were super happy being woken up now, especially when you could have had some good stuff back in the Matrix. Like, you tell me they were all thrilled.
Yeah, there's not a single other person that didn't think like Cypher.
I had it good back there. Like,
yeah, like that would have been interesting. They delved into like maybe there was there could have been a compromise of like maybe some people want to go back to the Matrix. Like
some people don't want to be woken up, and they should have that right to be. They want to stay inside. Let them stay in.
That's the thing about this movie is that they're not trying to tell that, and instead we go into what this movie is really about, and we find out this movie is just a love story with Neo trying to get back to Trinity, and then we go to the warehouse scene. I think it's in a warehouse. Is it a warehouse or is
where he talks to her, and the analyst comes in?
Is that a warehouse or a shop or whatever?
Well,
I'm talking about the fight scene where they fight Smith.
Oh no, that was a warehouse.
Is that a warehouse?
Because it's supposed to be somewhere near her shop.
Okay, that warehouse scene sucked.
Oh God, yeah.
I hated that scene, and first off, the Frenchman, the penniless Frenchman.
That was just like. This
God,
man, why did you bring him back? He did
so
not
annoying.
It's funny because when we in the movie theater, I was like, "Bitch, I need subtitles." I'm sorry, I could not understand.
Well, like he was saying like it was good back then. Well, he was being very meta.
Yeah, when I watched it again at home, I was
class, and now we're on the phones and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, sure, that's too much. His character was so annoying, and they were like, "Here's this. This could have been a really cool action scene, and we're cutting back to the penniless Frenchman over here."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "This guy's freaking annoying."
Yeah, I'm just like,
and that's also another scene where I'm like, they should have had Hugo Weaving right here, but none of those scenes. I mean, I did kind of. He did a little bit embody Hugo Weaving when he was slow walking towards Neo.
Yeah, I did like that slow walk scene because then you had the other crew and the crew just like, oh shit, jump out the way. And then
Morpheus spears him. I'm like, okay, we got Mr. Morpheus versus Mr. Smith, and I like that. Do the
scene again.
But here, that's the thing is like, I don't think any action scene in this was great.
No.
But that's what I'm saying. Like maybe they should have had more talking in this movie because I would have really liked New Smith Mr. Smith talking to new Mr. Smith Morpheus.
Yeah.
Like, because that would have been an interesting ass conversation. Like, how does this Morpheus / Smith feel about talking to this new Smith, Human Smith?
Oh yeah.
That would have been an interesting ass conversation to have.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're right. That would have been good and interesting.
Instead, like, I get what they were trying to do with them versus each other, but they should have been talking to one another. Because, like, we had a whole ass it was a one-sided convo in the original movie where Smith is interrogating Morpheus, and Smith talks about how he actually hates the Matrix. And, like, that's what I thought was slightly interesting about bringing him back. But again, he felt pointless in this movie, other than, it's like, hey, remember them fighting again? And guess what? Play that scene from the original movie with Smith versus Neo. It's way better in that movie. And, yeah, that was pointless. And none of the other characters are having a remotely interesting fight scene. And like, were those supposed to be the Frenchman's henchmen? Yeah,
I think someone said that they're supposed to be the exiles that was in the original.
The other programs?
That they somehow didn't get purged. But yeah, the other programs. And I'm just like, that, just them, like, you should just have Smith there. And just have him have like some...
Smith alone could take on any of these guys.
Yeah, you just have, like, especially if you had Hugo Weaving, fighting them, it would have been so much more
When the music was playing, I was feeling it. I was really feeling it, and Morpheus tackling him, and I was kind of feeling it, but then it just goes back to the action where I was just like,
it lost me. And then it has Miravinci, I think that's his name, just going back and forth about...
It's so funny, because, like, they cut, like, when the fight scenes are all over, it cuts to him saying, what does he say? Like, we're not done with our sequel spinoff, and they don't...
I was just like, excuse me, I paused, I was like, he did not just say that, and I rewound, I was like, he just said that shit. But are you kidding me?
The characters don't react to him saying that.
And I'm like,
It's so weird.
Why? It's just giving me a headache just thinking about that stupid line again. Like, you don't need this dude here. You don't need that line. I get what you're trying to do, but you're too on the freaking nose with it. Like, stop.
Cut to Neo trying to talk to Trinity, and then we get a reverse.
Oh, we didn't talk about the fight scene between Neo and Fake Smith.
I don't care for it.
All right then, moving on.
But
he got the force push. He does that a lot, though.
Yeah, he does that the whole movie.
Yes.
But
he has the force.
Neo trying to talk to Trinity, and then the analyst comes in. They obviously was a remix of the Architect, KFC Man, and
he does look like him.
That's what everyone says, though.
Yeah.
And clearly, I think they took notes saying like, all right, people didn't like rewatching Reloaded. God dang it. Rewatching Reloaded, I don't mind. I mean, so I wasn't there, obviously, when the sequels came out, so I don't know how people felt about the sequels when in that situation. So I only heard how much people hated the Architect scene.
It's a very long scene.
It is a very long scene, but...
And I do find
I like that scene a lot better.
I do like that scene, but it's also like, can you hurry up?
He uses a lot of big words in that scene.
He does, and I'm just like,
and it's like he's a machine, and like they clearly was like took notes and like, all right, Neil Patrick Harris, have some fun. Yeah. And like I get that, but like this scene is just as boring. I feel I
didn't care for his character too much.
It's so funny.
I kind of liked him better when he was like doing the therapy thing.
I like that. Yeah.
When he was doing this, especially because he eventually starts using bullet time. I'm just like, no.
If he's
because you're too OP with this.
It's so weird because like I feel like he's supposed to be the new Architect, but I feel like the thing is Smith is the only opposition in the first movie, and in this movie the Architect is supposed to be that, but he doesn't. He's supposed to be the analyst is supposed to be that, but I don't feel like he's threatening at all in this.
He's
like,
not,
because I know Neil Patrick Harris ain't throwing no punches in this movie because it's Neil Patrick Harris.
Especially how the time, like, when he sees his cat, he's like, obviously I'm going too far in the end of the movie, like, he sees that cat, he immediately trying to go, deja vu, I gotta go get my cat.
I was kind of confused with that, too. Like, well, I don't want to talk about that yet, but, yeah. like, he can control, he's taking Neo's powers and using it against him. I'm like, okay.
I didn't like that.
That was really boring. That was so boring. Because
you just make him too powerful when you can do that.
Because then we get to the end of the movie and it's like, all right, how is he not just stopping everything that's happening?
Yeah. That's why I'm just like, no, this one move right here, I get it, you want to bring it back, but to give someone that power, it just makes no sense. Because it's like, how can you stop him if he can just move? But if he's the fucking Flash right here.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, another thing too is like going back to the tension of them just being able to teleport out of the Matrix. That scene ends with him talking to the analyst, and then they're just out of the Matrix.
Yeah, I was like, did y'all cut something out right here?
That's the thing. Is like they could
like
they could just get out of the Matrix so easily now. But I want to go back to that scene because Neil Patrick Harris does say one interesting line where he says, "Do you know why you have nightmares?" That's us doing that because they found out a different way to take energy out, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
I must have done.
He says a line was like, "You know why you have nightmares? That's us doing that. That's what your dreams are." And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is.
And like that, because that introduces the topic of like, oh, do they not have real dreams when they get out? Like, are their dreams just whatever they? Like, do they always dream of the Matrix? Like, what are dreams really? And I thought that was interesting too. Like, that's why I brought up the Inception. But again, that's just one line that we kind of gloss over, and then boom, we don't see the analyst again until the very end, because again, this is all about Neo trying to get Trinity out because it's a love story,
which we did in the first movie.
I mean, it's the opposite here, where it's not really what they did in the first movie.
Yeah, I just thought about it. I was like, no, it's not.
No, because in the first movie it was Neo trying to save everyone else, and in this, they're trying to help Neo save himself and Trinity, and I guess that's fine. But like that's really the answer that we get, and we find out the reason. I'm skipping all over the place, but we find out the reason that the analyst brought them back is to use their energy, their source code.
He just wants to get up with the higher ups. He wants to get up with the big suits.
Yeah, I mean he's just another program, and I'm just like, that's the answer to our question. Like it's not nearly as that's so boring. That's not nearly as interesting as like any of the questions that we get asked in any of these movies, and at least the first two. So next up, we go back to Io, and then we get to talk to Jada Pinkett Smith, and then we go to Sati. Is that her name?
Sati.
Sati. And so, question: is she the new Oracle?
I didn't think she was.
Because I was thinking that.
Because I mean, obviously, in the original trilogy, I was like, okay, when they showed her, I was thinking she is going to be the Oracle, but then for some reason, I'm like, I mean, unless she could be hiding because of apparently they purged the Oracle when they did their. With the machines they purged her.
I was thinking she was new Oracle because rewatching the first movie, I was thinking because when Neo first goes sees the Oracle,
there's a bunch of other kids.
She says potentials, and when I first watched that movie, I thought she meant other potential ones.
Oh,
now I'm thinking that meant other potential Oracles.
Huh. Okay.
Because I thought
it was potential.
Because Sati was
too.
hanging out with the Oracle in the last movie.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking she's the new Oracle.
Yeah, I mean, I thought,
cool.
But I didn't really, for some reason, I just didn't get the vibe in this one. I assumed she was, I didn't get the vibe.
I think that's what, like, I mean, she doesn't feel as powerful as the Oracle was, but I think that's what they were going for.
But then I also feel like if she is the Oracle, she's gonna have to hide too.
Yeah.
So, because they did get rid of the other one, so she's like, yeah, I have to hide.
That's what I'm saying. I think she was supposed to be the new Oracle.
Yeah.
That was cool, I guess. And then I
kind of wish we got introduced. I mean, they obviously showed her a couple of times, her interacting with him. Mm-hmm. But I kind of just wish we got like a scene with her like a little bit earlier instead. But yeah, I liked her character for like the little bit we did get her.
Yeah. Because
it's nice to see that, hey, brought Sati back, that's cute.
Yeah. And it does, like, again, it shows that the end of the last movie did matter. Even though that last movie is not well received. I do like how this movie does end in the Matrix. Like, we do go back to the Matrix in this, which thank God. Because otherwise I'd be like, what the hell? What's the point? But even that, we get the confrontation. And they introduce the concept of trying to save Trinity and how dangerous it is to even pull her out without her taking the pill. And it has to be a choice. And again, I do like that they keep reiterating that.
But didn't they also make it seem like what Buzz says earlier is like choice is illusion, because you already know what you're supposed to do. But it's like, because she even says it later on. It's like, what if she doesn't want to come out?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's. I mean, the choice too is kind of anticlimactic because she's like, they sit down in that coffee shop and it's like, no, I'm gonna stay here, and then immediately she's like, actually, no, I'm not.
Yeah, that was weird. Especially, I mean, also she even says it. She's like, I had this dream, and then we get on a motorcycle, we drive away, and then it's just like, we know you're going to leave with him, but it's also very weird how you just flip that switch just like that, and it's like, get your hands off me. I don't like to be called Tiffany. My name is Trinity, bitch, and then you just punch him in the face.
Yeah, it's a real quick scene, and it just becomes a huge action fest of nothing. I stand by what I said. That action is so, like, nothing stands out in this movie. Like, I think the one cool scene, the only scene I like where Neo uses the Force when he crushes that car and they rode on the motorcycle.
Yeah,
that was a pretty cool scene.
That was cool
in the trailer.
Yes.
Other than that,
it's so weird also because I was watching the trailer again. I was like, damn, there's a lot of stuff you see in this trailer that you see almost majority of stuff I feel like in the trailer. So I'm just like.
But even like the bots,
but I still liked it.
The bot, like that's what it seemed like they were trying to make a big climactic final battle, which I don't really think needed to exist because you're not gonna make a really cool action scene because like there's just nothing with Neo just using his abilities the whole end of that movie
and
in
then it's
nothing
just like,
creative way.
Can you still fly? And just. Nope, I got nothing. It's just like,
that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Were people laughing when you saw that?
I can't remember if anybody else was laughing, but I thought it was cute.
Yeah, it's funny. Doesn't make sense why you can't use his powers, but
yeah,
whatever.
I mean, you could also look at it just like it's been a while. It's like New Game Plus. You don't have everything back, so you have to.
Yeah,
you might not have everything back, so you need some upgrades, like he said in the second movie.
They did just jump to the final battle. My man didn't really get to level up at all.
He didn't. Like he had to allocate his points all over again.
Yeah.
So.
But then we find out that Trinity is also the one, which means there's two.
Two become one. They're a dyad in force.
I don't really get it. At that point, too, it's like... See, the thing is, with the original trilogy, is that Neo, he becomes Superman at the end of that movie.
Yes.
And in the sequels, I thought was a smart decision. They didn't have him fight all the time in the sequels. Because guess what? Neo is Superman, but Trinity and Morpheus can still die.
Yeah.
And Neo can take on multiple agents, but they can't.
Yeah.
And in this movie, the problem with the bots is that now everyone can fight everybody. Neo and Trinity can do everything. And this movie ends on a sequel bait. We're probably not going to get one. I don't know. I guess there's reports that there might be. But like... Also,
I saw reports that there would not be.
Even if there is, what are you going to do now? It was already a problem before with Neo, because Neo also can use... I'm assuming he can still use his powers in the real world. What's the threat when now both Trinity and Neo have powers?
And besides, you saw, like, we're skipping ahead, like, you saw how she kicked the analyst and then she snapped her fingers. And I was confused at first when I watched
Just kill him.
Then when I rewatched, I was like, I'm like, okay.
Just kill him.
Yeah, it's like, you're making your point, but I was like, yeah, if you can do all that, who can stop you now?
Credits. No more. I don't need to see it. And that's the thing with these reboots. And I don't know if it's supposed to be a meta thing. Like, oh, this is Wachowski's trying to make... Like, some people say, like, this is them making fun of the reboots. I don't really get that at all.
I don't either.
And, like, some people... Like, this is supposed to be a commentary. Like, I feel like that at one point, there are definitely jabs at Warner Brothers.
Yes, I definitely got that too much.
Because, like, I think
movie.
Bugs says, like... Oh, Bugs has a good line. One good line Bugs says is, like, they took your story that meant so much to us.
Yeah.
And they made it so trivial.
And,
like, that's clearly a jab at Warner Brothers. But,
it is.
And, again, like, obviously, this movie was going to be made, whether or not... But, like, I'm not going to give points to it just because they tried. This ain't Justice League. This movie's not a... I don't think this movie's a 1 out of 5. It's a 2 out of 10. I don't have anything else to say. You got anything else?
Well, there was this... I did have a little theory earlier. Not a theory, but, like... What I thought would have been more interesting, I mean, I kind of did enjoy Bugs as a character, but I wished it actually somehow would have been, like, Morpheus's, like, grandchild, maybe. Especially, like, especially when she actually meets Morpheus again, or, like, someone related to him, because it's like,
she is very excited to see this.
I was just like, why are you excited to see this dude? Especially when he tried to kill you, like, 5 seconds earlier.
I think that's the concept of him saying that kind of blew her mind.
Yeah.
But she would know that Morpheus is dead, though.
Yeah, but I think it would have been like, okay, so you heard about...
I get what you're saying. Like, if she was related to Morpheus, she heard another person say, I am Morpheus, like... It's a program saying that, and it's like, oh, this means something.
Yeah, it almost might be like a clue, like, hey...
I'm on the right track.
Yeah, I felt like that could have been...
Following the White Rabbit, baby.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been interesting, but also, like...
That's this whole movie.
Yeah, it could have been interesting. That's the title, Matrix. It could have been interesting. Yeah. But... And also, I felt like, we said it before, like, the whole thing about... The main thing about this movie, it should have been about the war between the machines. People either have that twisted state in or not. But I was just like, if you're going to bring them back, I was like, maybe Neo should have just known about, like, Neo should just agree, but like, hey, yeah, you can put me back in. Like, let him have, like, he gave everybody a piece, I can't even say this word right for some reason. Gave him a life. But, like, let him come back into the Matrix and, like, try to do something different. Like, even be with Trinity. I don't know if she would know who she is at that moment. But, like, have him, like, be in there. Like, yeah, he made the choice to go back in.
There's nothing saying they couldn't be happy together while in the Matrix.
Yeah, I'm like, let them go and try to have a life. Let them do something. Like, they could have been, like, happy in the Matrix. But, like, and then he could have even agreed, like, yeah, we have this truce. If you guys want to kind of try to limit my powers, if you think you can, go ahead. And I'm just like, I'll just try to live peaceful. But, like, because he is the one, he's an anomaly, he can still, like, get some type of sense. It's like, there's something fucking going wrong right here. And maybe that's when he, like, maybe you introduce Sati that, like, he's like, I can still tell something's wrong, like what's going on. And maybe that's when she tells him, like, the machines are not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not giving people choice. So then maybe that's when he decides, what am I supposed to do? I like 20 years, so like 20 or however many years you want to go. It's like, I thought we had peace. I thought we had a truce. Now they're trying to break it. Am I going to come back and do my Superman thing, or am I just going to be Clark? Am I Superman or am I Clark Kent? Which one should I be? Yeah. Is she going to be my Lois Lane, or I don't know what else you can say about that. But.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I still think this movie kind of sucks. I don't think I'm really ever going to really watch it again. If you guys have anything else you want to add to the discussion, let us know in the comments. If you think we're both absolutely wrong, I'm sure there's some people who will. Let me know. Hey, I don't care. But yeah, check out my other videos. Check out my review. Follow along, like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button. Just kidding. But yeah, hey, like it, please. And we'll do this again on Infinite Repeat. Once again, I've been Nate.
I'm Alicia.
Stay up.
Bye.